Hi, it's Dia. Today is a fun day for me. I get to introduce my newest coloring book called The Buns, and I'm going to be doing a review of colored pencils, and I'm going to be able to use a page from my new book. This is called Big Bun, Little Bun, although you can't see the little bun right now. He's at the bottom of the page. I'm going to be reviewing BAYLAND Premier Luxe pencils. And the BAYLAND company was nice enough to send me this pack, and as you can see, I'm opening it up right now for the first time. There are 48 pencils in there, and as I'm looking at them, they have the color indicated at the end of the pencil, and you can't see the width of the lead because the color covers the whole thing, which I actually like. It makes for like a slightly different weight. So as usual, what I'm going to do is use these pencils on an actual picture and see what they do. Now, at first blush with this green, and I can't tell you what color it is. I can't even tell you what number it is because the pencils themselves don't have a color or a number or a color indicator other than the actual color that's at the end, like the little swatch, I guess you would call it, at the end of each pencil. So this green that I use was super smooth, so I was super impressed. It felt very creamy. It almost felt like a polychromos. And then I went to this lighter, sort of springish green, and it was harder. It was a much harder pencil. The color was a little less pigmented than the initial green. Now, in all fairness, the first one was a darker color, the second one was a considerably lighter color. So I'm not going to make any kind of decisions quite yet. Then I decided I would just use all the greens. I'm not going to color this whole image today because I just wanted to do a review basically, but eventually I will finish that whole image to see what the pencils can do. So what I'm doing here is using every one of the greens. Now that pencil that I just used had a almost like a super light celery yellow color at the end of the pencil, indicating that it was a green. It kind of was green. I felt like it was more yellow. But when you put that down, meaning like if you use that light yellow first and then you go over it with the darker colors, similar to the hero pencils, it stays that light yellow color. So I love that. I love that trick, and you can do that with this set. So you can get an idea of the greens here. Most of the greens are on the brighter, springier side. Now, I had to double check right there because the end of the barrel, there's definitely a green indicator, and this is a very, I can't even say mossy. It's almost like a gray green, which I didn't know how I felt about at first, but then I really liked it because it's a super nice shadow color for greens. Here's that yellow/green color. Here I decided that I was going to do something similar. I decided I was going to make this and one of the other flowers in the yellow/orange family. So the second pencil I chose had a very orangey indicator at the end, and it was very yellow. So one of the things I did want to say about these pencils is that a swatch chart would probably be a really good idea right off the bat. Now, as I'm coloring, I was thinking, what do these pencils feel like? And they're interesting because some of them feel soft and creamy and super pigmented, and some of them feel very hard and actually made a dent in the paper. Now, in all fairness, as I say that, I was trying to make veins in leaves, so I don't know if it would have left that much of an indication in the paper if I was just coloring a larger area and pressing in like your regular kind of circular motion. I was drawing more specific lines. Now you can see that the yellow is really nice. Once again, I can't tell you what it is. Now I'm trying to go over that really pretty bright yellow to make some shadows at the center of the flower, and it was a little bit hard to go over. I can't tell if it was a wax bloom or it was just that I was trying to put a color that was too light over another relatively intense color. The other thing about these pencils is that some of the colors, to get their full impact or to get the color that I felt like they should be, I had to push very hard and I almost had to burnish. Now I was filling in that flower, and I guess in my head it was going to be a black-eyed Susan, and I chose the black obviously for the center, and not that it was very crumbly, but when I pushed hard, you can see me dusting. There was a little bit of there was a little bit of pencil dust. So now I'm adding some more colors over that yellow again. Now you can see that I was able to make fine lines here when I used a more intense color. So I do like the way the flower and the image in general is coming out, although I can't say that this is exactly how I would be coloring a regular image, because I had it in my head that I wanted to use every single pencil in the set because there was only 48. So I wanted to get an idea of how every color looked. So although you have to work a little bit harder than, let's say, a Prismacolor or a Polychromos pencil, I still liked how they looked. Now there's not many pinks, but I have to say the pinks in this set I really like. Many times there's a pink in the set, but they're always very warm. So there are three pinks and one that I thought was a red, but it's actually this beautiful raspberry color, and I'll use that a little bit later. Um, so that's a really nice highlight and an accent to the three different pinks. So what I just used right there was the lightest pink, and then you can see I'm going in there with a little bit more of an intense and cool pink. So the lightest pink is probably neutral. I can't say it's very warm. And then the slightly darker one goes a little bit warmer. I'm sorry, cooler. And then the darker one is neutral again. So I'm speeding it up a little bit because what I did here was color in these little, I don't know what they are, dogwoods, but they're very cute little flowers. And I used the pinks and that raspberry color. And then eventually I went over the top of it with the white pencil, and it did blend it, and I got a nice result. I used some of the lilac colors also, which I really liked. I have to say I really like the purples in this set, and I would probably say that the purples are the most intense and varied out of all the colors in the set. The pinks have the ability to go over one another better than the yellows and some of the greens. Actually, the pinks are they seem like they're more pigmented. Now I'm just fussing around here and I'm adding some colors that I would normally add to um, flowers or any kind of greenery. I add greens, I add oranges, just to make things look more realistic. Now I have to say the colors in the set are actually very nice. You can you can pretty much mix them all together to get almost anything that you want. I'm trying to think if there was anything actually lacking. Like right here, I'm using the grays. There were three grays, and I would say that they're all in the relatively neutral stage. I would say the darkest one is probably a little bit warmer than the rest, but not so much that you feel like you're going into brown at all. I used all three colors here, and I kind of went off the page here, and you can't really see me doing it the entire time, but they're perfect for shading. Now, the other colors that I very much like in this set are the blue colors. This is the lightest color, and I would say that it's the nicest sky blue ever. It can go from, as you can see, very, very light, and then this is one of those that's super high pigmented, and if you want, you can push a little harder, which you'll see me do in a few seconds here, and it gets to be this gorgeous rich blue color. Now I went to another blue. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the gray. I decided to add a little bit of dimension to the white area that I left and add some clouds. So I really like the colors for the skies and the backgrounds. And now here's the other slightly darker blue. Hold on, let me check. Let me see how many blues there actually are. Okay, there are 5 blues altogether, and one of them is this gorgeous sort of jade or Caribbean blue color that I will be using later on in the little pond that's in the picture lower. Now I'm just coloring in some of the berries with the reds and the raspberries and even some of the more like brick colors just because I wanted to see the variety. The reds are very nice. The reds are pigmented and smooth. Here I'm using some of those really nice purples. I used obviously the darker toward the center, and then I went lighter as I went toward the edges. The purples are smooth, creamy, and I like the variety. Now I'm just using some of those blues to fill in the pond. I'm starting with the same blue that I used for the sky, the lighter color, and then I'm going to go a little bit darker around the bottom and around the edges, and then I'm going to use that like lovely jade color in there also. You'll see it in a little bit and a little bit later. I'm going to cut some of it out so you don't have to watch the whole thing. So you can see the blues are very nice and rich, and I was using a very light touch there. Now this, I think, is probably a lovely skin tone. I would probably call it peach or nude, and it was perfect for the inside of this bunny's ears and his nose. And then I went over that with the lightest pink. And to me, it worked out perfectly. So about now, I started to get used to the pencils, and I used several of the colors, and I went back to these pink flowers because I know that the raspberry color would look so pretty, and some of the other, not quite lilac shades, but more pink with sort of a fuchsia base. I started doing this leaf. I first made the yellowish green lines going down the center, and I added some ochre maybe at the tips to give the leaf some variety, and then I went over it with a relatively dark green color, and that worked really nicely. And I have to say, I did fuss with this leaf more than normal because I wanted to see how much detail that I could get out of these wax-based pencils. And I was actually really happy with how this turned out. And like I said before, I will be doing this whole picture just to see what these pencils will do. I'm adding more detail to the ears here. You can see that I colored several of the flowers on the left with some of the other colors that I hadn't used yet, and they're they were relatively smooth, and I can't say they're as vibrant once again as a polychromos or a Prismacolor, but the colors were pretty. Now on this flower that I'm coloring on the right, I wanted to use all of the yellows and all of the oranges so you can see what kind of variety there is, because the flower up on top that I did next to the pink ones is pretty, but it sort of limited the yellows to the very warm, almost autumny colors. So you can see here that there is a relatively nice variety. There's one of the yellows it's such a nice lemony, almost chiffon color that I'm really not used to seeing in a set. There aren't many oranges in the set, but I don't really have a problem with that just because you can very easily mix yellows in reds and get many of the colors that you would need. I thought it would be fun to make the bunny's eyes pink. And just a quick tip on red eyes in animals or birds, you don't want to make them too red. I started out with a very soft, almost peachy color, and then I went a little bit pink. And then on the top, because you would have a little bit of a shade or a shadow from the eyelid, you want to make it a little bit darker. But don't go too red, like I said, because you don't want the bunny to look evil. So you can see that I used the pencils and I colored in more areas. And I have to say, now that I got used to all the nuances of the set, I have to say that this set for $14.95 is well worth it. You can get the 48 set that I'm using here on Amazon, and I will link it below. I have to say, I love the purples and the blues in the set. They felt especially creamy to me. There were a few of the pencils in the set that I would have liked to have a little bit more pigment. Some of the colors were a bit light. And also, like I said before, do a color chart because some of the colors don't quite match the the end of the pencil color indicator. That being said, there's a really nice variety of colors. They sharpen really well, and they're really comfy to hold. Uh, I would love for them to have names. In fact, I would love to name the colors myself. In fact, I might call Bayland and tell them I would be happy to do that for them. I'm very happy the way this picture came out, and like I said, I would recommend these for coloring absolutely. So I want to thank you so much for watching. My new book, The Buns, will be out this week, so stay tuned. Also, hit the subscribe button below and hit that bell also so you'll be notified and won't miss a thing. Oh, and you'll also know about the Bayland giveaway, which I will be announcing later in this week too. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.